Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books and this is another bookish reading vlog and I'm getting ready to go run some errands. I'm leaving Costco. I actually just went inside for a quick moment and they have the most beautiful wreaths there in the entire world. They really are pretty and they're natural, and so I bought this huge wreath. It's in the back of the car. It's like this big for the front of our house, and it was $18.99. It came to like $20 with taxes. It's huge, it's beautiful, and it has pine cones in it, and it has like little berries and stuff in it. It's gorgeous. And last year I had this, it was like this little tree kind of thing with like a lot of like greenery in it, and then it had like a birch log in it, and it had like berries and pine cones and stuff. And I really wanted one this year, and I remember that I got them at Costco, but when I would go there, they didn't have them. So Alex happened to go there like, I think it was before Thanksgiving, like 2 days before Thanksgiving, because he was going in there to get some champagne and stuff like that for Thanksgiving. And who is texting me? Oh, it's my husband's texting me. And so he brought me two of them home. They're $30 each, and they're absolutely beautiful. And it was funny because my neighbor across the street, she got one, and the base of hers is prettier. Like ours are like metal, kind of like I don't really know how to explain it. Like not like an expensive metal, but like kind of like a cheap metal. They look like they would be like $100, and they're $30. And so she had one, and I really liked the bottom of it because the bottom of it was like this birch wood, very similar to like the stick in it, but hers was smaller than ours. And I said, oh, did you see ours? We got two from Costco. And she said, yeah. She goes, I got mine from Costco too. She said, but she's like a master gardener, and her garden is like, and her walkway is beautiful. And because you can see I'm into the coziness this year, so everything, the red tartan plaid, the bedspread and shams and the pillows, and I'm just very excited for Christmas this year. Everything is so Christmassy in our house. Candles are burning 24 hours a day with Christmas scents. Yeah, so anyway, so she said I wasn't really happy with the one that I got, so I think she maybe bought two of them. So she was redoing them, which I thought was kind of a fun idea. But anyway, I thought ours looked pretty good when we got them. So I don't know if maybe those were gone because ours were bigger than the one that she got. So anyway, I just went and reviewed the Irish Cream Cold Brew from Starbucks. I also have my coffee right here, and I'm getting ready to run home and maybe film some videos. And so I thought, you know what? Why not just do a bookish vlog? Because I'm trying to film more over on my BookTube channel because I miss filming over here. And honestly, sometimes like this channel and my Peter Does Stuff channel, which I'm like having so much fun over there filming, like those are sometimes the videos that I wait till the very end to film of the day, and then it gets late and it's like 6 or 7 and Alex is coming home. So I need to maybe film my BookTube videos first, so that those are my first videos, you know? Because I just love it over here. And I have to tell you, did I just pass 75 books? I just passed 75 books. So I finished the JAYCEE DUGGARD book last night, Freedom, which is her second book. It was our extra credit book for a true crime book club this month. I want to watch the interview that she did with Diane Sawyer because she talks about it in the book. But anyway, the first book that, like the main book that we were reading for a true crime book club was A Stolen Life by JAYCEE DUGGARD. If you don't know who JAYCEE DUGGARD is, she is a young woman. I don't know how old she is now. I think we're kind of relatively close in age. Maybe. I think maybe she's probably like 10 years younger than me, I would guess. But she was kidnapped when she was 11 years old, and she was like kept hostage by these people for 18 years. And the first book, A Stolen Life, is her talking about the 18 years that she was kidnapped, and she ends up having 2 children with her kidnapper, and then at the very end she, you know, gets out. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody that wants to like read the story. It's a very intense story. Trigger warning, I will say there's a lot of graphic information on there. in the forms of abuse. It was even hard for me to listen to at times. I listened to the audio version because she reads it herself. But I will tell you, there's a lot of hope in the book, and she's an extremely, like, strong person. And so I listened to the second book because I was like, I had already listened to the book years ago, the first one, and so I was like, well, I want to listen to the second book, and then I'll listen to both books that she's put out. And the second book is basically like her book of firsts, like of her experiencing everything for the first time. And it's just some really magnificent moments in there, traveling that she does, getting to drive a car for the first time. She wins this award for, like, Inspirational Person of the Year at the Diane von Furstenberg Foundation, and Oprah gives her the award, and she talks about that. She talks a lot about privacy and kind of like keeping her kids and herself, like, out of the eyes of, like, the press. I was gonna say paparazzi, but like the press and things. And she talks a lot about animals. Like, animals have really been a source of healing for her, cats especially, and mostly horses. And she talks a lot about horses, and she uses them in her foundation, and she starts a foundation as well. And to really help families transition that have basically gone through similar things that she's gone through. So the book is super powerful, and I don't even really know, like, I really wanted to read it because, you know, on my Peterisms channel, I have been reading this magic book by Rhonda Byrne, which is 28 Days of Gratitude. And, you know, I've been really focused on practicing gratitude and all this kind of stuff. And she just seemed so grateful for everything in her, I mean, not obviously what had happened to her. She says at one point that she doesn't like the word. She doesn't say I don't like the word, but she says it's not the correct word to use is incident. So she's like, you know, this is my life, and she's like, it's not just this incident that occurred to me. So I really wanted to listen to her because I thought, here's this person that has gone through, like, extreme adversity in her life, right? Like, this life that she has lived is, like, surreal. And yet, she's so hopeful and inspiring and motivating. Like, I want to know, like, where that comes from. And there's this one part at the very end when she's, like, giving a lecture, and there's this guy that's, like, this guy doesn't at first realize, like, who she is, and I think they're talking about Elizabeth Smart or something like that. And so, like, he brings up something to do with her, and she's, like, in the audience, and she's like, I'm just fine, right? Like, I'm living a great life today or something. And I'm kind of getting this wrong, how it all happened, but anyway, because there's, like, 2 stories back to back. But so anyway, he's so angry, and he's like not at her, but, like, angry at her kidnappers, this Philip and Nancy. And he's like, if I ever saw them, I'd, you know, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, she says, like, in the book, like, not to him, but she's like, I hope that man deals with his anger, because it's, like, there's nothing to be gained from living, like, that angry, you know? And, I don't know, it was really cool. And the end of it is really powerful too, because I ugly cried at the end of both books. She talks about how she doesn't really know how to end the second book, and then she talks about that there really isn't any ending because life just kind of goes on. And it's just so true. And, like, she gets stuff, like, on such a deep level, like, just life she gets on such a deep level, on a way that, I don't know, it's extremely inspiring. And I learned a lot from the books about living, and about this, that life is a lot about the attitude that you have towards the things that happen to you, you know. And I wouldn't say, like, she's Pollyanna-ish with the situation. I mean, there's kind of a funny situation in the book where she doesn't like to go to the dentist, and so she's talking about the dentist, and she's talking about, so Philip, her kidnapper, was a meth addict, and she talks about how his teeth were always really bad, right? And she's like, something about, like, how she wishes that that she doesn't look at beauty as being something on the outside, she looks at beauty as being something on the inside. And she says, even that being said, Philip, I can't pronounce his last name, Gorelli or something like that, is an ugly person. And she was like, and I know that prison systems have ways for you, because he got, like, a mole removed or something that she talks about. And she's like, he's probably got his teeth fixed. And she's like, but I don't care because he's still ugly. And she kind of laughs in the book. And, I mean, she could tell, you can tell that she still is like, she has no sympathy for these people. Like, she just, like, but she also at the same time, like, I don't really know how to explain it. It's like, she's forgiving of them to the extent that she doesn't want to be stuck in her own life, you know, by what happened to her. But she's not so forgiving and sympathetic that she doesn't see that they're horrible people, if that makes sense. And it's like this really healthy place that she's at, and you're listening to it and you're like, God, like, she went through all this, and she's like, you know, and I might be upset because somebody cut me off in traffic or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's so fantastic because of that. And so I finished that. And before that, I finished Ready Player 2. Which was very lengthy for me to get into. It took me 3.5 hours. I think I talked about this already, maybe on here. It took me 3.5 hours to get into. I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic at the end. It has, somebody said to me, they tweeted me, I think, because I said I was trying to get in, like, I said, tweeted out something like, is anybody else reading this and what do you think, or something like that, or what are our thoughts on Ready Player 2? And somebody responded to me and said, I heard it has a really beautiful ending. It has a really, really beautiful ending. And then somebody commented on my last BookTube video where I was talking about it, and they said that Wade, the main character, is very whiny at the beginning of the book. And, you know, like, I couldn't really put, like, a word to how I felt about it when I was reading it or listening to it. First of all, the audio version by Will Wheaton is fantastic. I couldn't really figure out a word to put to it when I was listening to it, but whiny is absolutely the word to use. And, anyway, it's just, it's an interesting book. The pop culture references, and I talked about this in my haul, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but it's just, it is so geniusly written. I mean, Ernest Cline is really like what's the word I'm looking for? God, I cannot speak today. I mean, he is really a fantastic writer. I mean, he is probably one of the most fantastic writers of our time. Like, and I'm not just talking about the storytelling. The storytelling, yes, is unbelievable. But I mean, he literally is kind of, I mean, it's interesting because they reference J.R. Tolkien and the novel. I mean, he's literally like a modernized J.R. Tolkien. And in reality, he really is with his storytelling and the pop cultural references. And I just, it's, the only thing I will say is this, like, if you're not, like, close to my age, I don't think, like, a lot of the pop cultural references would make a lot of sense. Like, right out of the gate, and this isn't gonna ruin it for anybody, like, right out of the gate, he talks about, like, how he makes, like, a butler of his. He has all these, like, people that work for him, because now he's, like, the richest person in the world, you know? He has all these people working for him. So this one person, he, like, modeled after Max Headroom. Well, I didn't even watch Max Headroom when I was growing up, you know what I mean? Like, but I knew who Max Headroom was. So I feel like, unless you really had your finger on the pulse of, like, the 80s and the early 90s, like, you wouldn't know what some of these references are. There's, like, this whole area that goes into movies, and I personally love these movies, like, all of the movies. They're all done by a certain director, okay? So, it's not Scorsese, but just, like, for example, if it was, like, all Scorsese movies, right? But, like, if you haven't seen any Scorsese movies, and these are movies that probably everybody that is reading is gonna have seen, like, maybe, I think, I don't know, like, I feel like I talk to people about these movies today, and, like, the younger generation that's, like, 20, it's like they haven't seen these movies, you know what I mean? So I don't know, like, they were popular movies when I was in high school, but I don't know that in early college, but, well, high school, really, but I don't know that they're popular. Does anybody know how old Ernest Cline is? I should look and see. He's probably he's got to be around my age. And then there's stuff about a musician. It's just, it's really, really well done. The thing is, I came out of reading all of these cozy mysteries. Can we just talk about how pretty all of these lights are? Do you guys see, I don't know if they'll show up on video, but there's, like, all these Christmas lights. Do you see? Everybody's got. The thing is that I had come right out of these cozy mysteries, which are like really easy to read and listen to and follow, into this world that was like so intricate. And it's like, you know, well, my avatar Percival's 14th life was distinguished, and I had to get these. It's a lot to listen to, and I listened to it fast and I didn't have a problem following it, but it was a lot. It was like, you have to really be ready for the book. But I will say, I thought I was going to DNF it. I thought I'm going to have to just read this at another time because I'm just really not in the mood for this book. But you know, like, I ended up finishing it, and I thought it was beautiful. I really did. Somebody else said it was beautiful, and I agree. I thought it was beautiful. There's been a couple books in the last year that I've DNF'd that I want to go back and read. I didn't DNF them, like, for good. I just stopped listening to them. There's, like, 4, I think. There's a John Grisham book that I stopped listening to. I think it's Guardians. Angie Thomas's On the Come Up. I keep on meaning to go back and read that. I actually got, like, 2 hours into that book, and then just something else came around, and I really wanted, so I didn't finish On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. And I think she has another book coming out, so I want to finish it before that next book comes out. So now I'm reading, so anyway, I finished that, and then I read the JAYCEE DUGGARD book, or listened to it. I finished Heartstopper, the second edition, which is the Alice Oseman graphic novel. I sat down last night at 12:30, and I finished it at like 1:30 in the morning. You guys, they're so good. Like, I sit there and I'm reading them, and I'm like, why could this not have existed when I was in high school, so that I had something to like identify with? Like, they're just very sweet stories, and I'm just like, and it's very important conversations that are occurring in this very simple graphic novel story. And I'm like, I wish that these books had existed when I was in high school, because there was nothing, you know, and I've talked about that in videos recently, and like, just these graphic novels, I just sat there and just like read through the whole thing. I think they're so well done. And I'm getting it, when I finish the book that I'm listening to now, I'm currently listening to Mistletoe Murder, which we'll talk about in just a second. But when I finish it, I think I'm going to listen to Solitaire by Alice Oseman, because then she's got 2 spin-off books off of that. Still trying to make it to 100 books this year, but we'll see. It's like a book a day. So then last night, I started, after I finished the JAYCEE DUGGARD book, I started this very short, it's like 6 hours and 17 minutes. I know it's exactly that long, because I've seen it on my thing for the last couple hours. But anyway, it's called The Mistletoe Murder, and it's by Leslie Meyer. Now, I have to tell you, I saw this book come up recommended on, maybe it was a Daily Deal or something. I don't think so, though. I saw it come up recommended on, do you see the red light? That's for Christmas. No. But I saw it come up on Audible, and it was like book 1. And so for some reason, I was like, oh, this is brand new. Like, this just came out, right? So I started listening to it last night. It's a cozy mystery. It's about this woman, Lucy, and she lives in this small town, something Cove. I can't remember what it's called. Something Cove, and it's in like outside of Portland, Oregon. And she works for this mail order company that's like one of the biggest mail order companies in the world, next to like LL Bean, that started in this small town. Like, the people live there. And she lives with her husband and 3 kids, and they live in this like farmhouse. I mean, it's a very cozy mystery. I love it. It's great. It talks about food, and she goes to this like women's group, and they're all gossiping and stuff like that. It's great, you know? And her mom, it's Christmas time, and her mom's coming home for Christmas, and it's kind of sad. Like, her dad passed away 6 months before, so her mom's grieving really heavily and stuff. But like, it gets into this whole thing about like her, like the person that owns the company that she works for is murdered. This all happens right away. And she's so busy because she has to like make this angel costume for her daughter for the church pageant and whatever. Okay, so I'm listening to it, and she starts talking about like the women that live in this, it's kind of very much like Cabot Cove of like Murder, She Wrote, but I would say not as liberal, which is interesting because she paints a very conservative picture of this town. And I'm like, but you're right outside of Portland, Oregon, which kind of surprises me a little bit. But then she's talking about how the women all look, and basically they wear very little makeup, and they all have cut their hair since the 70s, she's like. And I'm like, since the 70s? I'm like, how old are these women that are, like, is this the town of timelessness or something? Because they all have kids that are like, you know, her kids are ages from 4 to 10, I think 4, 8, and 10 or something like that. So I'm like, how old is she supposed to be? And then at one point she says, that she like is going to the grocery store or something, and she goes into the bathroom and she like washes her face and she spritzes on some Charlie. And I'm like, Charlie? I'm like, who is, and this other part is kind of funny because like this woman is going to the airport and she sees her at the airport, this rich woman, and she's like, I don't know why the narration is horrible for these books, first of all, but she says something about like, it's Louis Vuitton, but she's like, Louis Vuitton. It's so funny. She's like, Louis Vuitton. And I was like, did I hear that right? And so I like rewound it like 3 times to listen to this narrator go, Louis Vuitton. But anyway, so she's talking about wearing Charlie perfume, and I'm like, okay, wait a second. I am sorry, and maybe I am completely wrong, and the average person out there over 30 wears Charlie perfume, but I haven't known anybody in my life that wore Charlie perfume other than my grandma, okay? And she loved that Ginate too, and I laugh, but it's the truth. She loved that Ginate body splash. Yes, this is my grandma that went to prison, and she loved Charlie perfume, okay? So that was, ow, I just poked my eye. That was probably, that's what you get, Peter, right? That was probably, you know, my grandma passed away when I was like 13, right? So that would have been, let's see, 72 to 82. That would have been 85, 86. You know, so 80 to 85 was when my grandma loved Charlie. So I'm like, when did this book come out? So I look, and hell's bell, if this book didn't come out in 1998. I was like, are you kidding me? Not that I care, right? It doesn't matter. But I thought it was like this new, like, I bought it, and I think I paid like a whole credit for it, or full price, because it was like this new Christmas mystery, and it was like the beginning of this cozy mystery series. No, hell, she's got 27 books in this series. So here it is, me starting another series that I'm going to get into and that I'm going to have to listen to. It's really not that bad. I'm now kind of like, she's real funny. So I'm real kind of at this point, like into it. And I'm like, I think this is maybe, her name's Lucy and I really like her. And I'm kind of like, well, I think maybe I could get into this series now. I love all these cozy mysteries. But she's like friends with this cop in town, and his name's like Officer Culpepper. And he like does something in the book, and he's like worried that he's gonna get a month's suspension without pay. Okay, and I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, I don't know what police department you work for, but like in any, I mean, it's basically he knows knowledge about something that could have like resulted in somebody's death, okay? What police officer do you know, like she's like, do you think you'll be in trouble if they find out? And he's like, oh, I'll probably get a month's suspension without pay. And I'm like, they'd fire you. Like, if they knew that you were like, the possibility that you were a contract killer. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, there is no way. Like, they would fire you on the spot. So anyway, those are my books that I've read so far. I was kind of thinking, like, if I could get enough graphic novels to, like, add up to 10 books, because I could read one a night, you know, then I could hit my goal of 100 books this year. But I don't know, like, are there other graphic novels that you guys know out there, like the Alice Oseman, like, Heartstopper ones? I mean, they don't have to be, like, that storyline, but anything that are, like, 4 or 5 of them in a row that are like that, you can just sit down literally in one setting and, like, in one sitting and, like, finish the whole book. Are there other, tell me if there are graphic novels out there. Years ago, I can't remember what this guy's name was. He was a booktuber, and he talked about this series of graphic novels called The Lumberjanes, and I always wanted to get those and read them, but I don't know how long they are. So anyway, if you guys have suggestions of graphic novels that I can literally sit down and get through in one setting, let me know. If they're a series, that would be better, so that I can read them. And I have vlogged for longer than I thought I was going to. This is like a Peter Vlogs on my vlog channel. Surprise, you're on my vlog channel. Anyway, let me know that in the comment section below, and I will order some of those so I can hit my goal of 100 books, because that's real. I want to hit my goal of 100 books, but I don't want to cheat, if that makes sense. Like I said the other day, jokingly, like I don't want to go in the library and like read a bunch of picture books. I'm kind of at the point where I've like, there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna, if I don't get to 100 books, I'm literally gonna go and just park my butt at the library and just read like 10 books, picture books. But I don't want to do that. And so if I, you know, end up only reading 80 books or 90 books, like I guess it's what I've read for the year, you know? Like I've kind of come to that, because I want to like legit like read the books, you know what I mean? So like books that I would actually read. So anyway, so please help me out. Help me out. Help a sister out and put that in the comment section below. I need some graphic novels. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. I don't say I'll see you tomorrow anymore because I don't know if I'll film a video tomorrow for my BookTube channel. So I always just say I'll see you in my next video. So I'll see you in my next video, and I love you guys. Bye.